Okay, so I've already done the introduction video for relationships. Now we're actually going to start talking about the relationships themselves. There's going to be 7 of these videos. Actually, I take that back. There's going to be 6 of the videos instead of 7, despite the fact that I've been in 7 relationships. But without further ado, relationship number 1. So I just graduated high school. I graduated in June of 2016 in some high school in Seattle. And for those of you who remember, Google Plus used to be a social media platform. And I was a nerd back then. I loved history, I loved military, mildly invested into government and politics, and I was into anime. And me being the, 19-year-old that I was into Kantai Collection. For those of you who don't know, you get female anime characters, and you get World War II ships, and you put them together. And the concept at the time was very interesting, very intriguing. And there were communities on Google Plus where you could meet like-minded people. Um, Basically, this is like a Google version of Facebook. And I did a lot of role-playing, anime role-playing, Star Wars role-playing, Halo role-playing, Mass Effect role-playing on these communities. And when I got invested into the Kantai Collection community, I met an individual that online cosplayed as the character Yamato. And we hit things off real quick, real strong. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh my god, he's counting an online relationship. Well, hold on. Because it does eventually grow into something outside of the internet. What attracted us together was not only our mutual interest in Kantai Collection, but we both had an interest in marriage, or we both had an interest in finding someone to build your life with. And I do apologize if I'm being vague and quick. This did happen a very long time ago. This happened 2016, 8 years ago. Can't believe it's already been that long. But basically, the whole concept of marriage, finding someone out there that has the same goals as you. We had a lot of the same goals. And eventually it didn't take long for us to get to know one another outside of our role play, cosplay, Gmail, Google, Google Plus accounts. Eventually it worked its way into phone numbers, phone calls. Now, in my Who Am I videos, I talked about I would take vacations to Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona. My grandparents used to live down there. They moved away in 2014. So when she told me that she was from Phoenix, I was like, well, that sounds great. I know the area decently well. I considered at the time Arizona to be my second home. And now that I was out of high school, I was working warehouse jobs. Warehouse jobs in Washington are a very big thing, even though you get paid minimum wage. But minimum wage in Washington was very high with no state income tax. So I was making about, $1,000 a week for a 19-year-old, which at the time seemed pretty good. But it took about maybe 2 months for me to, hey, I bought a plane ticket to come down and see you. And she was super excited. And now I will say I got very lucky looking back on it. You know, there was a lot of bad things that could have happened. Catfished, person says they're not who they are, despite the phone calls. But I did fly down to Phoenix by myself. And there she was, waiting for me. And keep in mind, I was 19 at the time, she was 25. So there was a little bit of an age gap. Her parents were at the beginning nice. Welcome to Arizona. Welcome to our home. However, it wasn't until we got to their house did things start to seem a little off. And now I will say, who am I to judge? But as someone who grew up in the city, identified probably still even as a communist, believing in liberalism, believing that wealth should be divided. This household was very mega. Now I can sit here and say I am a Christian conservative, not because of this family of my own choosing, but even as I sit here telling the whole world I am a Christian conservative, okay, do I consider myself MAGA? I mean, that really depends on your definition of MAGA. I do want America to be great again, but I also understand that there are people that take that very, very seriously, very literally, almost cult-like. And, well, this family was just that. They were very MAGA, very pro-Trump, very, very traditional, very Christian. The woman stays at home and cooks and cleans. The man goes out and work. And again, me being a little bit more liberal, progressive at the time, kind of saw that as why. Even now, I can appreciate like the conservative traditional values of it, but even still, it seemed very oppressive. And as much as I might mildly like Trump now, as much as I might being conservative, even looking back, it was still much for me even now. These people were very redneck. And she seemed to be very not redneck. But going back to the relationship as a whole, things, even in person, things moved very quickly. I remember getting her a promise ring within that evening. The next day we explored, the Phoenix Zoo, which happens to be my favorite zoo, by the way. The Phoenix Zoo. We went and saw a movie. I don't remember what the movie was. And then we actually walked back from the movie theater and we just had a great time. And I was only there for 2 days until I was there for a weekend until I had to go back to Washington. A month later, I was invited to her brother's wedding, and I went. This was, I believe, in the Coconino National Forest. Now, this is where things really started to fall apart. It wasn't so much her as it was the family. The family, again, was super uber conservative. A lot of these individuals were, I don't want to say they're alcoholics, but they drank a lot. And I think even the father got drunk to where he was cursing me out. And I also expressed to them at the time that I was interested in joining the military, and the father was a prior Marine, and he basically said I'm a pussy for joining the Air Force and probably wouldn't make it. Overall, not really a good experience, and I did take her back to Seattle, which surprisingly the dad allowed. I threw a lot of money into that though. But I did introduce her to my parents, and my parents didn't like her. And after she got back to Arizona, she was forced to break up with me, which was fine. Actually, at the time, it wasn't fine. I can say it's fine now, but at the time, it wasn't fine. I was very upset how she was a 25-year-old adult who was told by her own father that she had to break up with me. Sorry, there's a plane flying overhead. So anyway, I did eventually join the military, and actually did continue to talk to her before boot camp. So I went through MEPS. They said you're gonna leave in about 4 months to boot camp. And we continued to talk during that time. She expressed that she still loved me, still wanted to be with me. I did kind of an online engagement. I asked her if she would marry me. She said yes. So I considered myself engaged at that point. I never really got on one knee though. So, but she said yes, that she wanted to marry me. So anyway, I went through boot camp. And literally graduation day, we were allowed to get our phones back, and I messaged her like, "Hey, I graduated. I'll go through tech school, and I'll get to my first duty station. I'll fly you out here, and like we'll live happily ever after." And she basically was just kind of like, "Nope, actually, I changed my mind. I'm done with you." And it was very hard for me. It was one of my first breakups, and I just remember going to tech school. The drive to tech school, I went from Lackland Air Force Base to Goodfellow Air Force Base, a 4-hour bus drive, and just being very upset. And the first few weeks of tech school was me just trying to comprehend my first breakup. So really what brought us together was one common goal, and that was marriage and probably companionship. I was encouraged to relook into my Christian faith. Rather than growing up with it with my parents, I should find it on my own, which eventually I did in tech school. It might have been out of grief, but I'm still a Christian to this day, and I still go to church. But I don't look for answers for her. I've moved on from that. Other than that, I learned a very, very valuable lesson that just because the relationship with the woman is going well, you are also marrying, to an extent, the family. And sometimes if the family doesn't work out, maybe the relationship might not work out. Now, she did tell me that she also hated her family and wanted to move away from them, but at the end of the day, she made the choice to stay with her family, and that's on her. As far as I'm aware, the last I heard from her was summer of 2017, so quite a long time ago. I do honestly hope to God that she's doing well, and as far as I'm aware, she's still living at home with mommy and daddy in Phoenix. And I will say that a year and a half later, it is November of 2018, her nephew actually reaches out and tells me that the dad ran away with the brother's wife for about a month. No one knows where they went. When they came back, the wife was pregnant, so the dad got the wife pregnant. And basically, a lot of drama. I guess there's divorces going around. And the father's been divorced over like 3-4 times. The mother's been divorced over 3-4 times. The brother's been divorced twice. And I just think, in that moment, it's been a year and a half. I've already been through more relationships. I was also in a relationship at that time. I remember when I got that message. I was at a casino just east of Lawton. And I was out gambling with some friends. And I just remember getting that message and just reading it and laughing. Now, at no point was Yamato mentioned, but I didn't care, and I just saw how messed up the family was, and I was like, you know what? I am glad I'm not a part of that. So, in the end, the initial breakup hurt, it sucked, but in the end, I saw clarity, and I do hope she's doing well, but I'm glad that I am not doing anything with that family. Next relationship will be in the next video. Thank you so much for listening, and it will be coming out soon.